Hey friends, welcome back to another episode of Chismeando con las Jennies. I'm your host, Jennifer Mercado, and I am so happy that you're here. On today's episode, we have Ms. Mayra Martinez that has been here before, if you've been with us that long, but if not, different hair color. Yep. She don't got a baby on her right now. Because I know you did have Lani on
have
you.
a baby.
Um, but today we do want to talk about that. Yes, Miss Vida does have a baby now, little Lonnie.
Lani.
She's so cute. How old is she now?
She is 10 months old. Yeah.
Already?
Dude, her birthday, she's going to be 11 this month. So I just like had a meltdown that her birthday is a month away. And I hope you make it this
No, I will make it this time. I didn't go to her baby shower. I got sick. But then I saw everything she had. I was like, maldita enfermedad. Yo estaba como Teresa.
Maldito COVID.
No, but for real. But it wasn't an easy journey to get Lonnie.
No, it was not.
And you've shared a lot about it on her Facebook. She shared a lot about her story and her journey. And I feel like a lot of times we as women or as girls, we always like, oh well, how is this gonna affect me now and stuff. And I was one of them. I would always be like, oh, I don't want any kids. I don't want any kids. But I feel like instead of saying I don't want any, just say I don't want any at the moment.
Or I'm not ready.
I'm not ready at the moment because it will come a time where you are gonna want to have a child and imagine when you can't.
I would always tell myself like, dude, this is my karma for opening my big ass mouth because
you would say you didn't want kids.
Yes, because girl, I'm the eldest.
Yeah.
So I feel like being the eldest, you tend to want to wait more because you've already helped raise the other ones.
Yes.
So
I wouldn't know I'm the youngest. So
I was spoiled brat. I was just like, like when people would tell me, I'd be like, oh, they'd be like, oh, los hijos. You know, as soon as you get married or te juntas, they ask you, they bombard you with ¿cuántos hijos? So I would be like, no quiero. You know, I'd be like, no quiero. Like, because honestly, I didn't even know when I got married that I wanted kids. So I was like, no quiero. And then whenever I started trying and I couldn't have kids, I was just like, oh shit.
And I feel like I also learned not to ask people like when they're gonna have kids, because now you really don't know like if they've been trying. You just like you break their heart by asking them.
Yes, you do, because a lot of people will ask you. Like, I stopped asking unless they ask me, and then I'll be like, you know, a lot of people, especially my clients, would always be like, oh, y tiene hijos. And you know how in my office I have like drawings, and like, oh, son de su hija, and I'd be like, no. And what, like, it could have been like a sensitive day, and I'm just like, I'm not gonna ask them, do you have kids? Do you want? If they tell me, if for some reason it comes into the subject, and I'm not gonna be like, do you want kids, or you know, why this and that, because people are so nosy. And then maybe it's just me, but nothing irked me more than whenever people were like, oh, you can't have kids, oh, pues vete a sobar, or vete a hacer esto, or this and that. And I was just like, I don't need
Cece's me creeping in the back.
I was just like, I don't need your advice.
It really is like very painful, and I feel, and more, oh my god, I feel like more con la comunidad hispana.
Yes, dude.
Like nomás te ven like a little chubby and they're like, oh, estás embarazada, or like this and that, and I'm like,
dude, tell me why one time in Mexico, I hate that man now, but I've always kind of like, you know, had a feeling about him, but now it's just like, how dare you? And so I was in Mexico. I went to visit my aunt, and I was with my mom, and her husband was like, oh, where's your husband? And I'm like, he illegal, he ain't got papers. No, I was just like, pues se quedó, you know, because I honestly had just gone with my mom on that trip, and he was like, he was like, oh, why don't y'all have kids yet? And he was like, I heard you can't have kids yet.
Wait, he told you? He heard?
He was like, I heard, he was like, I heard you can't have kids. And I was like, yeah, well, you know, I haven't been able to get pregnant. You know what this motherfucker tells me? He tells me, he's like, it's because you're on birth control. You got on birth control as soon as you got married, huh? And I was like, yeah, why? And he was like, yeah, that's what happens. He's like, God curses the people, like women, as soon as they go on birth control. He's like, the rule is that once you get married, you cannot go on birth control because you have to see if you can even have kids. Because if you can't have kids, then are you even a woman? And I just looked at this guy and I was like, you mother fucker. Like, I was just like, the audacity this man has to tell me that. Keep in mind, we were in Mexico. He's a full on macho man. And honestly, I just stayed quiet and I wanted to cry, I wanted to yell, but I was just like, what the fuck? Like, I felt so numbed out because I'm like, so you're telling me that the reason I'm having issues getting pregnant is because I went on birth control and God is cursing me
You
for
know, and a
that?
lot of times what people don't understand, I feel like a lot of men don't understand, is that they always try to put the blame on the woman. But what
Mhm.
if the man doesn't work?
Exactly. That.
Are they not a man anymore
That.
because of their little liquid
Mhm.
isn't working? Like, I remember, I remember it was this earlier this year in May,
Uh-huh.
and we were at a family rosario,
Uh-huh.
mind you. We were mourning the dead,
I know.
and and we were talking about like having kids and stuff like that, and a close relative, not to name anybody out, but you know who you are. Uh, love you much though, but a close relative. We were talking about it, and his girl was like, "Oh no, like yeah, we want kids, and that's cool. If you want kids, cool. Like if you want kids at a very young age, congratulations. Like if yeah, if you want to like go
Mhm.
ahead, right?
Yeah.
But that's not everybody's dream at a
Mm-mm.
young age. At least that's not my dream,
Mm-mm.
right? Well, we were talking about it, and then I was like, well, like if we don't have kids, we don't have kids, and that's it.
Right,
Like
right,
I don't know if I will ever feel like I don't know if I will ever feel like I want one,
right,
because at the end of the day, I don't want to resent my kids,
right,
right?
right.
And then he's like, "Oh, so you're not gonna fulfill what a real woman does?"
I know who
Yeah.
this is. I'm charging them double next time.
Please do. No, and then what irks me the most is that like whenever you just have a partner that just sits there and
And
doesn't
just
say
stares at
anything.
you. What?
Yeah.
That,
Hmm.
I think that's, well, no shade or anything, but I just feel like your partner is supposed to, support you or give you support,
Yeah.
especially
Yeah.
in heavy topics, because again, some people, some women, and some of my fertility sisters, that's what we call each other when, you're going through that whole
Yeah.
struggle. We will actually, it's easier for us to just say we don't want kids instead
Yeah.
of giving you the whole rundown of why we don't have kids,
Yeah.
So I can just be like, I don't want kids, and that's it. We're gonna call it a day. You shouldn't ask me this and that. You shouldn't give me any tips. You shouldn't want to change my mind. And I think that that's like a big thing with people is that, so what if, like, one of my aunts, her husband used to blame my aunt when I was younger. I remember that she used to blame my aunt because they had all males and that it was her fault that they couldn't get a female.
That's crazy.
And science, thank God for science class.
Thank God.
You learn that the sperm, the one who actually dictates the gender is the male.
Hmm.
So that's when one day I told my mom, and we were like kind of like, beefing, and I'm like, oh yeah, well, her husband is always saying this and that. I'm like, but little does he know is he's the fucking cause that they have all males.
Hmm.
And my mom was like, what? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, apparently no one knows this in Mexico. And some of the old school Mexicans still
And they won't
think.
believe you though. They
Mm-mm,
won't
they
believe
won't.
you.
They
They won't
won't.
believe that it's not the woman's fault, and they won't believe
Mm-hmm.
like that's where a lot like machismo
Yes.
comes and plays a big role. A lot of
Yes.
things, and I feel like for me it's been really hard because like my dad was never machista,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know where my brother got his little attitude too.
No shade to Osvaldo.
No shit to Osvaldo, but like I just I don't get why they feel like they're so much more entitled than us.
Yes, that's the thing. I think that we're having the whole controversy going on now
Hmm.
is gender is a huge factor, and you don't realize it until like it comes to you. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially with the fertility issue. And I'm like, a woman's job is not solely to give birth to your kids.
It isn't. No, 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 no.
And it's a privilege.
Or to be cleaning after you.
Yes, period. She is your wife, not your mama. Okay?
Or your maid.
That's what I always told
Yeah.
Chris. He knows it. I'm like, I'm your wife. I'm not your mom.
Yeah.
I don't clean up after you. And your mom shouldn't have to clean up after you. You're old enough. So yes, that's a whole nother
Well,
subject.
that's a whole nother subject. But who was they came for like that to start the IVF treatments?
So it kind of went from here. So we started going into I went into my OB, and
Mhm.
I hate my OB, but well, my old OB, and apparently I'm not the only one that hates her. But I went into my OB, and we started like, they start you at like mild treatments. So they give you a pill that's called like Clomid, and it's supposed to make you ovulate and
Okay.
whatnot. So they start you
Mhm.
mildly there, which for some women that's all they need to kind of like jumpstart them. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Because like I started,
Jumpstart thing
yeah,
was
jumpstart
crazy.
the your I
But yes, I get
started
it.
for like a year without any type of protection, and pues nada, and the thing is, I had never been regular on my periods,
Mm-hmm.
so I was just like, okay, maybe it's just not the time. So then pasó un año, nothing. So I went in, and they started me like, slightly on pills, and then from there I'm like, pues this ain't working it. And this is why I hate my OB. She was like, you're young, what's the rush? Why do you even want to bring a kid to this world? That's what she told me. And I was
Why
just
is she
like,
in? Why
tell me
is
why
she in
she was like, are you
OB?
even financially stable? And I was like, what the fuck? That is not, none of this is your job
Your
to ask me.
business, first
Yes,
of all.
So I was like, you know what? If you cannot handle my situation
Yeah.
and you don't see eye to eye with me, then send me out. So she sent me out to a specialist in Greensboro, no, Winston-Salem.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when we started doing like more slighter treatments. We went through the whole process of like more pills. We went through the process of doing injections. And then we went through the process of doing AIs, which are like artificial inseminations.
Oh.
So they track you like when you're ready. Like supposedly you're going in every other day to get an ultrasound taken, and they're tracking your follicles, and they're seeing how big, and it has to get to a certain number. When it gets to a number, I believe it's 18, what they prefer, then they'll tell you, okay, we're ready to try to inseminate. So they'll make your husband, your partner, whatever,
So
kind of,
they already have like something ready. Like they already had something ready, like from Chris.
Well, yes, they know, and yes. So they go, and they kind of like, they take a ultrasound, and if, let's say for instance, que ya se les hubiera pasado, right? And they say, oh no, we got to do it today, porque si no es today, se te va a pasar, and we're going to have to wait another month. It's a monthly cycle type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So they would like literally say, call Chris right now, because he has to come visit Manuela in here.
He used to go visit the girl in the magazine
Yes,
in the bathroom.
yes. Shout out to Chris, because I'm gonna tell you, he never once, like,
Yeah.
whatever I told him, I was like, hey, he would go with me. It got to the point, honestly, when I had so many appointments that we would go to, like, he would tell me, if you want me to go to every appointment, just let me know. And I'd be like, honestly, it got so to a point where it was so disappointing for me to like keep hearing, oh, not today, it didn't hit, or this and that I was like, I'm not gonna call you. I'm not gonna tell you to come unless it's like a major appointment.
Yeah.
So
But I feel like
yeah,
that's something you shouldn't have had to go through, by yourself.
by
You need your
yourself.
more independent.
The thing for me, well,
She's a strong, independent
a
woman.
strong independent. No, you just don't. Once you're in it, and once you've done it for so long, because keep in mind, by that time we had been like 3-4 years trying, y nada. So
Y'all been trying for that
yes,
long?
girl, we tried forever. So when I say like this child that I have is a miracle,
It's a
she is a
miracle from God.
miracle,
Yeah.
because like pasó todo eso. And for my fertility sisters out there, like, infertility is mentally exhausting. Not only as a medication, some of the injectables that we would do were like so painful in your body that you could feel it, like as it would go down, how it would burn in pain. I would like cry. It was just rough. Now, none of that there I went through alone. I always went with Chris. Matter of fact, I could not inject myself. Like, I was injecting myself every day, every other day.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like few different medicines at that time.
Mm-hmm.
I would remember all the names, and now I just kind of like put it to the side where I don't want to remember it. I actually
Mm-hmm.
still have some in my house in the fridge. They're still there. But he would always, like, I couldn't inject myself, so he would always like inject it for me. And I remember like when I would do the burning one, he would always like put pressure on my leg, and he'd be like, I'm so sorry you have to go through this. And he would like hug me, and I don't know what would make me cry more, his soft side or the pain.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was the whole thing. So
It does take a big toll on you mentally, I feel like.
it does, because you
I already have a
you
lot of mental problems in
you
my family. I don't think I need to go through that.
I hope you don't have to go through that because you
No.
see other
Yeah.
people. And no es que les tengas envidia. And that's one thing that I want to clarify. No es envidia. It's kind of more like rage, not towards them, but towards the world. Because you
Yes.
start getting mad at the world and you're like, why me, God? Like, why is it that, what am I doing? I remember I would ask God and I'd be like so mad sometimes at God. And I'd be like, you know what? It's God's reason. Like, there has to be a reason why I'm sitting here
Yes.
without kids, which fast forward, you find the reason.
Yeah. And I feel like with that, it's like you said, it's not that you have envy towards other women that do get
Mm-mm.
pregnant, or, and I feel like in the world that we live in now, like there's women that can get pregnant so easily
Mm-hmm.
that they, always try to get rid of the baby, which at
Mm-hmm.
the end of the day, it's your
Your
choice.
choice.
Like nobody's taking that away from you,
Mm-hmm.
but you just see that and you're just like,
You know what
how
would
come them and not me?
Not me. You know what would anger me is that while I was in the process of trying and on the process of going through everything, it's a lot. Like I said, it's just very mentally exhausting that you do. Like you get obsessed, dude, with pregnancy, and you get obsessed with taking pregnancy tests and all that. Nothing would anger me more than watching women have kids and not take care of them. Like that to me was like, why God? Because you're blessed with this soul that people are going through hell and back just to get a chance to get something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
And you're over here like lo traes todo descuidado, or you don't care to see it, you don't care about bath time, you don't care about anything, you just had a child because that's what you decided to. Like there was a girl that was like, honestly, I just had the child because my parents forced me to have it. And so I'm just like, why?
And that
you know
sucks. And I feel like, and this is my opinion, like
mm-hmm.
we
To
each
your
have our,
own,
yeah, we each
yes.
have our opinions, but this is my opinion. I feel like with that, I feel like nobody should force you to have a child.
No, no.
Why? Because I feel like the child ends up living a worse life
Yes.
than if maybe you should have either gave them up for adoption, or gotten, as sad as it sounds, like gotten rid of it. Like I feel like a child suffers more on this earth than they ever
Mm-hmm.
will,
I
and
agree.
it's not fair. It really is. And to have your parent resent you for a life you didn't even ask for
Mm-hmm.
is crazy.
Yeah, because now you resent your parents, you resent the child, you resent, and then the child's gonna grow up asking like, why doesn't mommy love me?
Yeah.
Or if
Yeah.
some other
Yeah.
siblings or whatnot come along, or grandkids, they're
Yeah.
gonna be like, mommy, why does he have a dad and a mom and grandparents, and I only have grandparents?
Mhm.
Like I feel like por más que uno quiera, kids will still see it, and that's one thing that I was very firm on before I even started trying to have kids, was the fact that I was like, I don't want to bring kids to an unstable
Yeah.
life,
Yeah.
not only financially, but also emotionally. Because I was like, I don't want to be where I'm always working. Like, both of us are always constantly working and we don't spend time with the kids. Like,
Yeah.
one of us has to, have time for everything. For the kids, or it's about teamwork. And then also the other thing is emotionally, like I don't want to be, I guess in a way, as bad as it sounds, so fucked up in the head that I don't see what my child needs, and I can't tend to what they
Yeah.
want. And that was the thing. I just vowed that I wanted to give them a better childhood. Ya que empecé a querer kids. And honestly, that's actually where it comes in with Lani. Like at, I think, year 4 of trying, I was like, I was honestly like losing it. Everything was piling up. Work, the office was getting busier. I was working, and just emotionally, when you go through a lot of, like, you feel like you're mentally done with everything,
Yeah.
that you feel like everything's just piling up on you. It can be
Mhm.
your household, your workload, it can be your relationship. You just feel like you have problems at home, you have problems at work, like literally everything's falling apart. So I was just like, what the fuck am I doing? Like I was going through like a meltdown, or and I was like, what the fuck am I doing trying to still get pregnant,
Yeah.
but I'm not mentally stable? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that's when I was just like, I'm gonna pause it right here. I'm gonna just take a breath. And actually, that's when I talked to the doctor, because we did a last treatment, and that's when he was like, it was an AI, an insemination, and he was like, it failed. So he was like, the next step is to do IVF.
Yeah, yeah,
So I was like, was let's do IVF, you know? But that's when we started talking. I started getting tests. Now, a lot of women will actually, when they start this whole process, they will gain a lot of weight because of all the stuff that you're pumping yourself into. And I am someone that if I'm crying, if I'm emotional or whatnot, I'm going to be eating. Like I'm a big eater. So I was just like, I had gained a lot of weight. So doctor test me and he's like, you know, your blood work came back good, but we have a problem is that your BMI is high. He's like, it's not crazy high, but it's higher than what we want to be because in IVF they put you to sleep. So I was like, you know what? God, this is my sign that you're sending me that I need a pause. Like, you know, it's just like, so he was like, I'm not telling you to lose, you know, 50 pounds. He's like, I'm just telling you to lose a little bit. Just, I think it was like 20 pounds that he wanted me just so I could be under the BMI.
but I feel like at that point you had already lost a lot of weight yourself.
Not yet, actually. At
Not
that
yet.
point, no, that was before the weight loss.
Oh,
Honestly,
okay,
that
okay,
was like
okay.
right before that, where I was just like, you know, this is a signal. Like this is a sign because, and that's what my last conversation with my doctor was that I was gonna take a break, and I was like, you know what, I'm mentally exhausted. So he was like, take a break. While you're doing the break, he was like, you know, change your eating habits and look into losing weight. And he was like, I'm not asking you to lose 50 pounds, 100 pounds. He's like, I just want you to lose 20 pounds just to get you under that so we can
Mm-hmm.
continue IVF. And he was like, how are things with your partner? And I was like, honestly, things with my partner are good. Like, you know, we don't have issues. In my head, I was like, some things would just like irritate me more. And I think it's just when you're going through a mental breakdown, you know,
Yes,
everything,
yes.
todo te cae mal, todo te sale mal.
Vete de
Yeah,
aquí.
you're like, so I was just
No,
like, you
yeah.
know, I was like, they're good. He was like, take your time. So I was like, this is what we're gonna do. So I took the time. I told Chris, I'm like, I want to take a break. We talked about it, and we were like, we're not ready to go through with IVF. You know, obviously, I couldn't even if I wanted to because of the weight. So we started traveling, started taking a chill, and I said, you know what, Diosito, I'll try it when I feel like I'm ready. But
Yeah.
you know, see, we talked about it, and we were like, if we're just not meant to be parents, then we're just not meant to be parents. You know, we got one another and we'll see other options if we just feel it. We had dogs at the moment, so we are like, and we actually had two puppies, like, you know, they were in the puppy stage. So we were like, we got our hands full with them too. Tell me why a year later I come back from Mexico and everybody's sick and we're just there, you know, and like 2 weeks pass by and everybody ya se les quitó la gripa and I'm still like fucking dying.
She's like, oh.
I'm like dying,
She's
dude.
like, am I gonna die
Yes.
today?
I literally told Chris, I was like, I don't know why. I'm a DoorDash a pregnancy test. I was like, because if this pregnancy test is negative, we're fucking going to the doctor because I'm dying.
Wait, you okay? So you were just like, I need to take a pregnancy
Yes,
test.
dude. I was like, I don't know why. I was just like, let me just.
Oh, something in you.
Yes,
You knew.
because it
Yeah.
had been a year that like after our conversation, I literally went and I dumped all my old pregnancy tests. And then I dumped like all my new tests. Like nomás tenía like dos cajas creo and las tiré todas. I was like, we're closing this fucking chapter.
Mhm.
Nomás dejé las medicinas porque están bien pinches caras. I was like, if I need them, because we were paying a lot of it, we were paying out of pocket. So
Oh wow.
yeah, so I was
Yeah.
like, if I need them, I
Aquí
have them
están.
here. Yeah, aquí
Yeah.
están. They're ready to go. So yeah, so I didn't have anything for a year. I didn't have any pregnancy tests. I didn't have anything. The only thing I was doing, so I know when Lani exactly was actually conceived. Because I don't know, se me quedó esa maña where I was tracking my periods and of course when I was active on the Flow app.
Mhm.
So like
You know, so they shouldn't be tracking your periods on that. I don't know why.
Really? I did not know that. But I don't use it anymore. Ever since I got pregnant, I was like, well, there's no point on doing this anymore,
Yeah.
right? You know?
Yeah.
So yes, I was tracking it. So that's how I know. Pero that was the process.
Aw.
So Lani is just literally a miracle. And it was
A
just so
miracle of
hard.
God. And I feel like with that, it's so beautiful that I feel like you doubt your faith a little bit, you know, when things like hard things like that happen, because you're just like, God, like, what, God, why? God, why is this happening to me? Like, why can't I get pregnant? Like, I want to
Mhm.
so bad. But I feel like at the end of the day, like you said, like, God, with God's timing, it's always perfect, you
Literally,
know?
yes.
Because maybe those years that you weren't getting pregnant, like, God was like, like, you know, because he's always like, honestly, secretly always talking to you, saying like, chill
Yes.
out, like, I got
Yes.
you, like, it's gonna
Yes.
happen. like don't worry about it, but
Mhm.
we're so stubborn that we want things to happen
Right
like
there,
this
right
right then
there.
and there. and
Yes.
and I feel like, but I feel like that's beautiful though,
You
that you
know,
never
that's
gave up.
that's one thing that you look back, and I feel like overall any situation, you
Mhm.
look back and you're like, dude, that was literally God fucking talking to me,
Yeah.
and I didn't see it. Like it was like to me, like for example, my biggest memory. I was talking to my best friend the other day about it,
Yeah.
and I was like, I remember when so and so announced their pregnancy. I was like, I literally went the whole day crying. I just locked myself in the room. I remember Chris would like check up on me, but I was like, dude, I really kind of
Leave
need
me
time off.
alone.
Like I need time off. And he would hug me and he'd be like, it's
Yeah.
okay, don't look at it. I swear, and I told my friend that I was like, I swear to you que nunca lloré con envidia o nunca vi
Yeah.
el post con envidia que dijeras, oh my God, I hate her, like
Nomás
I
era con
envy
un
her.
sentimiento de
Era
que,
un enojo, un
yeah.
sentimiento que tenías with Dios, because I remember that day I was like, Diosito, what have I done? Like, why? Like, I try to be nice, I try to be a good person. Don't give me my
Try.
bad side. Don't give me.
It
I'm
says
like,
try keyword.
try. I'm like, why? You know,
Yeah.
why is it that I don't get that? And honestly, whenever I got pregnant, that's when everything started, like the puzzle started getting solved, and I was like, it couldn't have came in a better place, because I'm like, I'm ready to be a mom to Lainey, and I have you know, like I'm able to give her what I want to give her.
Yes. Yes.
Not financially, like not just financially, but also emotionally
You took
and
her to
like
Europe.
time with, you know, you can't take.
Took her to Europe.
My sister was like, it took me fucking 20 years to make it to Europe, and you're telling me that this brat comes in 6 months?
Literally all over Europe.
All over. But you know, that's the thing, like I get to do things like that, and even if I wouldn't have been able to take her to Europe, but I know that emotionally I'm able to give her what she
Yeah.
needs, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And we're also able to, like, if her dad needs to, you know, work late, then that's what kind of what we do. If her dad works late, then I go home early and pick her up. Like we always have our time set when we're picking her
Yes.
up. So we like kind of vowed that we're gonna give her the time that she needs, that we're gonna be active parents, because you know, in the Hispanic community, I love my parents to death. They were always, you know, there. But that's the thing that, like, my husband, that's kind of what breaks my heart, because I feel like my dad has always been more on the self-employed area, so he's been more open to coming in and seeing like our award ceremonies and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And he's like, my dad never went to one of my soccer games, like when I played for the school.
And I feel like with that, like you are so privileged if you're
Yes.
self-employed
Mm-hmm.
and you actually are doing good in your business, that you have
Yes.
the opportunity. Because whenever like I always have the opportunity to go see my nephews and nieces,
Mm-hmm.
my
I saw you
nephews
went to
and
a field
niece.
trip, no, with them?
No, not a field
Not field
trip.
trip?
It was some school thing. I can't remember, but
Uh-huh.
I'm always having them out.
Yeah.
But I think with them, like I have such a privilege to like say, okay, I'm not gonna go into the office till 11 because
Mm-hmm.
we have award ceremonies this morning. and
Yeah.
and to them it's so like it's their face just lights up so
Mm-hmm.
much whenever you go. And I look at it and I see my sister like needs to call off for the day to go see her
Yeah.
kids. And I feel like one thing I do like, I do love about my sister and her husband is that, you know, my cuñado is self-employed, but
Mm-hmm.
he does allow for my sister to like ask for days off to go see the kids,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know. And I feel like that's so important
It
to show
is.
up, to be present, to be a present, you know, mother and father. So
Mm-hmm.
I guess the message really is that if you are trying to get pregnant or have a child, like at the end of the day, it's God's timing.
It
it's
really
it's
is.
never like, it's never on us. It's never because you're not a woman. It's never
No.
because the guy isn't a man.
No.
It comes down to God's timing.
God's
And
timing.
I feel like God wouldn't like, if it's not your calling in this world to be parents, it's for a reason.
It is.
It really
Yeah.
is for a
Yeah.
reason. Because I do feel like we each have a calling in this world,
We do.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
That.
it's like you said, it sucks that you do see a lot of kids or a lot of people that do have a bunch of kids that don't take care of them, that have
Yes.
it's really sad to see. It really, really is.
That it really is, because you are so full of love to
Yes.
give,
Yes.
and you see kids that aren't getting the love. And I think
Yes.
honestly one of the things that we have is also, like you said, you take, your nieces and nephews out and
Mm-hmm.
you give them that. Or tell me
They're
why, I don't know if you
expensive.
yes, dude, tell me why.
And they get hungry every 2 hours, and I'm like, you
Ew,
just
and
ate.
they're talking about, no, I don't want a kids meal, I want a full size. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, tell me why Saul the other day was like, "Can I get a 10-piece combo?"
A turkey,
Yeah,
yes.
and then can I get him a chicken?
I was getting ready to order my little sister a Happy Meal, and I was like, I'm gonna get her a 6-piece because she's a big girl now. She was like, "No, Myra, I don't get that anymore. I get the 10-piece, and I get an apple pie with it." I was like,
The cherry
"Girl,"
on top.
yeah, I was like, "Girl, you're
No, and but I
expensive."
feel like whenever we see people that do have a bunch of kids and don't take care of them, I feel like at the end of the day, like they're in a situation because they themselves put
Yeah,
themselves there.
yeah, you
Not
call
because like
yourself into it.
God was like, oh well, I see that you're struggling already. Let me send you a
Let me
child.
add one more.
No, but I feel like it very much is that we each have a calling,
Yeah,
and it really is like how we use our calling and how we use our life on this
right.
earth right now that we're here. That like, and God sees everything.
That's the thing. Because even if, like, for example, when we were going to do IVF for us was going to be mostly out of pocket, which
Mm-hmm.
IVF is very expensive in the United States. But at the time, Chris was DACA. So we were like, well, we can't leave the country because I kind of need your fresh swimmers here. So I was like, I can't leave the country. So we were able to pay it, like
Yeah,
we
yeah.
had the money, we had been saving for it because we had already been told. So we had the money to pay it. And kind of Dios todavía nos encontró otro bloqueo on why not to
Yes.
do it, and the weight was a problem, and I was like, well, shit, how do we do
Yeah.
this? So then I feel like ya cuando I had Lani, I was like, literally, again, todo falls into pieces. Pero antes, like, I have a family member who's also, going through infertility, and she's just, she's mad, and I don't blame her. And that's one thing that I don't blame. Honestly, whenever I got pregnant,
Mm-hmm.
I took a while to like post it
Yes, you did.
because I know the feeling of like seeing a post and being like, she got there already, and why haven't I? And I just didn't want to hurt anyone's feelings. Like, I don't want people to think, oh, es mamona, se cree like Kim Kardashian or lo que sea. Because I
Not Kim
didn't.
Kardashian.
No, I really didn't. Me putting little emojis on Lani's face so no one sees the little Courtney Kardashian. No, I
Yeah.
was just like, I just don't want. Se me hacía feo. Like, I was
Well, at
like,
the end of
I
the day,
know
you
their
have to
feelings.
protect your own. Like you have to protect. Like when it comes to
Mm-hmm.
that, you have to protect your peace. Not that
Yeah.
people are willingly, not that people are willingly trying to do you bad or like to
No.
send you bad vibes, but our mind works in
Yeah.
very mysterious ways, and obviously like they're your thoughts, like maybe you think about it, you're just like, oh well, that's not the right thing to think, but you already
Yeah.
thought about it.
You think about it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're
No.
just like, oh,
But it's not just that, pero yo me ponía también en los zapatos de ellas. Because, like I told you, remember my friend posted that she was pregnant?
Mhm,
And I just cried all day. And I was like, I don't want my fertility sisters to be hurt, and just like keep wondering and keep getting mad at God, because I know it. That's automatically what something goes wrong, and we're like,
mhm,
God, why me? Why this? Why
mhm,
that? And I'm like, I don't want them to go through it. And then I had like a lot of girls who messaged me, and they were like, girl, what did you do? I've been trying for this. And that's what I'm telling you. It's easier for us to girls to say, I don't want kids, because that's when I was like, there's a lot more of me
yeah.
out here. And that's why I like
I
speak
read a
out
book
on it.
honestly too that I was crying.
Really?
Yes, girl, tell me, I was like sobbing,
Sobbing.
because it's really sad. It
Mm-hmm.
really is sad. Like, and I think it hits harder whenever you know someone,
Mm-hmm.
because like my family, like thank you God, has never like gone
Mm-hmm.
through that where they couldn't get pregnant. I mean, look at my sister, got 3 kids, and then my other sister has 2. I will say though that we have had a miscarriage in the family now.
Uh-huh.
Like my senke, she was just pregnant
Aww.
I think I want to say like a month ago, and she miscarried.
Aww.
But I feel like I didn't know like what it
Mm-hmm.
truly meant for other women. You
Yes.
know, because I mean, I feel like a lot of us saying that, oh, we don't want kids, also comes from family trauma. Growing
Yes.
up in a
It
household
does.
where even if it was a joke, them saying like, oh, you weren't planned, like we had
Mm-hmm.
you accidentally. Like, I feel like no parent should ever tell that to their kids.
Mm-hmm.
Never.
Yeah.
Like, it's not okay. It's not a joke. It's not funny because you don't know how that person is going to take it, you know?
Yeah.
And I feel like with everything, like whenever, you shared your story on Facebook,
Mm-hmm.
porque ¿quién no comparte la Mayra en Facebook?
You
And I
can find a
just,
little, depending on the day, you'll wake up to something new.
no, but
Someone's like, can you promote my tacos? I'm like, girl, I'll promote anything. Let me try them first.
let me try the first,
If
yeah.
you see me promoting something, it's because I've tried it and it's good.
No, but like, and then seeing you share it, you're just like, you take a back seat, and you're just
Yeah.
like, whoa, like there's women out here that are really, really trying to have a child and can't,
Yes.
right? And what if
Yes.
one day that's me?
Yes.
And I also was obviously, like I said, I was reading a book, and the woman, like, she herself like found out that she couldn't have kids, and that stopped her from like falling in love with this one guy, and it was like back and forth. Like, you got to be very careful also what you say, because
Yeah.
your tongue and what you say is very powerful.
Right.
Like, you do not know what you will speak into existence until it actually
Mm-hmm.
happens.
That's like what I was telling you. Like I was always like, whenever I was going through a fertility whole process, I was just like, this is my karma for saying that I didn't want kids, and this is what happens. Like, but my biggest thing, like related to that book situation, I kind of already saw in the future that I was going to struggle with kids because my mom struggled having
Hmm.
kids. So like I had already been told beforehand, but again, I was in that state where I was like,
Yeah, I
I don't
don't
care.
care.
It
Yeah.
is what it is. So I was just like, whatever. So, but I did tell Chris, I always talk to him up front. I'm like, and even when we got married, I was like, look, dude, I don't even know if I want kids. And I know you're
Yeah.
about to pop the question, and I'm not sure if I
And
want
it's
kids
so
or not.
important for you. It's so important for you to talk to your partner
Mhm.
before you get married
Before.
about kids.
Before, okay?
Oh my
Before,
lord.
please.
I'm sorry if you watch this podcast because I'm outing everybody out in my family. But
Just run the bus, girl.
at this point, no. But I think it's so. No, but I do think it's so important for you to have that conversation before you get
Mhm.
married. And
Yes.
it's because you might say like, oh, it doesn't matter. Like, we don't even know if you want kids.
Oh,
But what if you do?
I just thought about who you just throw everybody
Yeah.
under here.
Not saying that I'm perfect, because I'm not. And that's what, like, I will tell you, one thing that stops me from wanting a kid right now is, one, where we live at. One, two, the way that Sergio thinks
Mhm.
and his thoughts on how to raise a child.
Mhm.
I'm scared. Like, and I know that a lot of people just, they talk to talk,
Mhm.
when it comes to having children, and they just talk to like kind of be that person,
Mhm.
but I don't like it, right?
Yeah.
So that's honestly what stops me. And I think it's so funny because my mom is always like, oh, ¿cuándo vamos a dar un nieto? Like, when are you gonna get
Of
pregnant?
course.
And she's like, and if you don't want it, you can just give it to me.
Of course.
I was like, girl, why would I want to put my child through what I went through when I grew up with you?
Well, I was gonna say something nice. I was gonna be like, why would I want to push it out? Some less traumatic, Jenny.
No, also, why would I want to push it out? Yeah.
Push it out just to hand it,
Yeah, like, it's so dumb, and I just feel like I I don't want to,
Yeah.
and it's okay.
It's okay.
Doesn't make anybody less of a woman.
No, it does not, because I understand you, and that is one thing that I can tell you that it kind of just like comes in place for you guys
Yeah.
as a couple. One of the things that I told a family member that did not listen was, before you get pregnant, before you actively try, don't get me wrong, if you just get pregnant on accident, I understand accidents happen. It is what it is. Make the best out of it. But if you know you're actively trying, you're not taking care of yourself, then honestly, like well, back to the thing. Me being Jenny, just forgetting my whole route.
Yeah,
Back
me
to
with my ADHD.
um, no, just that's my thing. Is like get to know your partner before
Yes.
anything. Take your
Hmm.
time. You might not
Because getting
agree.
married to the church ain't no
It's
game.
no game. Even through legal work, girl, you're gonna really be paying divorce. You're gonna be
Yeah.
fighting in court. Just take it smooth. But kids is a huge thing that you definitely need to talk about once you're ready.
Yes.
But I
Yes.
would say talk about it before. Just get a little preview and be like, what do you want? You want
Because what
kids?
if you don't
Yes,
want
no.
to like raise your kid with this one partner? And obviously, like with me, not that it's easy for me to walk away from my relationship because it's not easy, right? You've been
Right,
with this
right,
person for 8 years, living
right,
together for 3, but it's easier for me to walk away now than if I am to get married,
right, right,
right?
right.
Because then, like, when you get married, like, you swear upon God, like
Yes,
God. Do people not understand that word? Like
yes,
God, the
yes.
person, right? Like you swear upon God that you're gonna love this person, you're gonna be
Mm-hmm.
faithful to this person, and you're gonna be with them to the good and the bad,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Right.
So it's like it's such a huge promise,
Mm-hmm.
and people take it like a joke.
It's not something slight because then later on you're like, well, like with this specific couple that I'm
Mhm.
talking about, s- she just ramped in to move in, and then later on she was like complaining about this and that, and I'm like, well, you kind of didn't take your time, and then she was talking about a wedding and getting married, and I'm like, hold the fuck up, you're complaining when you can like literally walk out right
Yeah.
now. There's not bills or anything together, which in your case there might be, but it's not. I always told Chris it's not the end of the world to
It's not.
separate it.
Me, it's not.
So I'm like, worst case I'll fuck up
I
your
don't pay
credit. I'm just
anything.
kidding.
I literally took Sergio. I was like, if I was to walk away, ya tendré
Ya
con un
tendré.
carro, con una casa, con los
You all the way. No, but
teléfonos.
you gotta meet them, test drive the car,
Mm-hmm.
talk to them, but also
Yes.
set your standards. If you expect kids, or if you don't expect kids, let them know, because you don't want to waste their time. You don't. What if you get
Yes.
married? If you don't talk about kids right
I
now,
think it's so funny how it went from IVF to
yes, like
to relationship
how
advice.
the hell? My
Yeah.
thing is, I don't know. Maybe I'm misjudging, but if you don't talk about kids, how do you come to terms when
Not
it
only that, but if you don't
happens?
test drive the car, how do you know you're gonna want to be with this person forever?
Exactly.
Like I know
Exactly.
a lot of Hispanic and more in Hispanic community. More in
Mm-hmm.
Hispanic community.
Yes. Tell me about it.
They're like, no, pues no se pueden juntar unless you guys are married. Like it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't look good. What would God say? I'm like, honey, what would God say if
If
I'm
you break your
miserable?
promise, yes.
If I'm miserable, if I break
Mm-hmm.
my promise, if I want a divorce, and the
Mm-hmm.
same thing with divorces. They're like, you can't get a divorce because you swore upon God. So it's
Mm-hmm.
just like,
It's done. You're there. You're there, and they're like, "Pues ya te dejas y ya," but inside, like, shit, I broke my like, this is my
yeah,
promise to God. Like,
yeah.
that's one thing I was talking about. Like, I always tell my sister, like, look, my dad was very old school. He was very traditional. He was like,
Escápate,
yes, he was like,
llévatela.
te quieres casar, te vas a casar, pero nada que te vas a juntar, te me vas a salir de aquí que pedida y vestida de blanco y todo y this and that. I did it, but
And she regrets it. Not
knock
just
on wood, no,
way.
at
Not just
points, no,
way.
but a mí me fue bien.
Yes.
I guess
You are yourself a good guy.
yes, I can honestly say he's good, but the thing is que no a todos les va así. So
Yeah.
I tell my sister, I'm like, look, if it comes down to a point where you feel like you're ready, you need to tell. If my dad starts with his traditional stuff, you need to tell me, and I'll talk to my dad. I'm like, because the last thing I want is for you to go get married, do the whole bodonon, and then it ends. You call it quits, and
I
then
mean,
you're
don't
just done.
invite us to the wedding. But-
Show up, okay? Don't get sick.
and I will show up.
Oh,
It's like those news. It's like
so
whenever you told your friend not to marry that one guy, and you're there
and
at
she
the
goes
wedding,
and she married, and you're over there partying.
catching the bouquet.
I just don't. That's the whole thing.
Yeah.
Pero también no se casen a lo pendejo, no se junten a lo pendejo. Like that's the thing. I see girls nowadays that they're like in their 20s, and I'm like, girl, if you want that, one of the girls was like, I just moved in with my boyfriend because I wanted freedom from my parents. Yes, girl, do you? No shade, no shade. Pero ya lleva 13, so yeah. So I'm like, bitch, at this point, just stay alone. Your parents probably don't want you back no more. They're over it. They done gave up on your freedom. Just stay alone. No se junten con cada
Yeah,
novio.
yeah,
No se
no.
Oh, you know my other thing.
No se
As
embaracen.
an
Like,
infertility
not
person
that
who's
it's
gone
not
through
that it's a bad
infertility,
thing.
not a bad thing,
Yeah.
but girl, no se embaracen de cada cabrón y después estén complaining que he's this and that because you didn't fucking take your time
Yep.
to meet him. And I'm so sorry,
Yep.
and you might not agree with me and you might cancel me, whatever it is. But girl, going through a whole infertility process makes you see life differently.
Yeah.
And you're like, girl, then the thing is like, después ahí están. Like, my baby daddy don't do this, my baby daddy don't do that. And you're like, which one? All of them. And I'm like, God damn, girl, at this point, we got a pattern here, you know? Like, it's more, I guess, serious about it. So, yes, don't get married. No, not married, but juntarse, don't have kids. Conozcasen antes because ya que vienen los kids, you're tied up to that man. You want it or
Yep.
not. He's there for 18 years.
It's very hard, but if for those of you who are struggling with IVF, I feel like Mayra, you would be open
Yes.
to having more sisters, and
Yes.
just know that you're not alone. It
You're
doesn't make you
not.
a less person. It doesn't
Mm-mm.
make you a less woman.
Mm-mm.
I feel like if you're struggling with this, keep your head up.
Yes, and my biggest thing to you, because I saw it with a family member, let's just throw all of our family members under the bus. I even told her. I even told her. She was telling me like we were talking about the IVF process, and I'm like, well, we're down, but this is what's blocking us. It's my weight process that's just blocking us. And she was like, well, to me, that's not the problem. The problem is that he said that if I have to pay $15,000 to have a baby, then what's the point? He'll just change the bitch. And I was like, I'd be fucking taking his eyes out. And what the fuck are you doing still trying to take
I would
to
cut
have
his
a
balls
baby
out.
with him? Like, I was just like, if he's not willing to spend money on you, like to spend money on that process for y'all, what the fuck are you doing? She's like, este que es bien culo, es bien codo. Girl, I don't give a
No,
fuck how cheap you are.
no,
But
no.
once you want something and it's something that important and he's not willing to budge in because of the money and money's more important and he just says, I'll just change the bitch instead of spending the money, call it a fucking day
Yes.
and walk the fuck out because you shouldn't even
Yes.
be breeding
Yeah.
with this man.
No,
At
that's a
all.
clear fact of you
At
shouldn't
all.
raise a child in the household.
And then I'm like, bitch, this is your message that God is sending you. That is probably why God is kind of stopping you from being able to get pregnant. It's because he doesn't want you to have kids with someone like that. Because
yes,
honestly, I would have just called it a fucking day. So
call it a day. Know your self-worth, know your value as a woman.
yes.
Because you do bring a lot to the table,
Yes.
whether people want to view it that way or not.
It is. And again, like Jenny said, you're not alone.
Mm-mm.
There's many of us who actually go through the process. We just go through it more silently. And I think we go through it more silently, or some people are more afraid to speak up on it because por lo mismo de que la gente te juzga y te dice
Yes.
like, oh, well, you're not a
Yes.
real woman. Don't let no one tell you you're not a real woman because you can't have kids.
Yes.
Another thing is that if your man ever bashes you for not being able to have the kids, call it a day. Just cancel that shit out right there.
Yes.
Because don't have kids with someone who's going to put you down over something that you cannot control, And at the end of the day, if you choose not to have kids, don't have them.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like,
yeah, and it doesn't make you that's the thing. Like at the end of the day, everything is your choice.
yeah.
And I feel like you guys will always have someone to come and talk to, with whether it's Mayra, whether it's me, which I don't really have any kids, so really can't guide y'all.
The question is, do you want to have kids? What do you think? Besides, which I completely
besides Sergio,
agree. Besides Sergio,
no,
but
I do want to have kids. I feel like I do and I don't. Like right now, not at this very moment.
Okay.
Maybe
Okay.
down the line when I'm closer to my 30s,
Okay.
I feel like I will be like, okay, it's time. It's
Mhm.
time for I to grow a family, because I do eventually do want one.
Right.
But I do understand that if God doesn't bless me with one,
Mhm.
I'm okay with that too.
So let me ask you this. Now, how long have you been living with Sergio?
8 years.
Living with him?
Oh, 3.
3. I was like, no,
No,
not living
3.
with him. When I met you, you weren't living with him.
No, 3.
No, 3. So see, you guys are still like in that early on stage where
Estamos con luna de miel.
Yeah, well, a little aggressive sometimes.
No, ya, ahorita ya andamos. No, just like.
Ya andando de, like I would say. Pero I think you're still like in that stage where, I don't think Sergio is a big gamer.
Yes.
And that is something that we've always talked about. Like, are you sure we're not married to the same guy? Because Chris
Yes.
is a
And
huge
that's
gamer.
exactly what I tell him. And that's why he doesn't want kids
Yeah.
neither.
Yeah.
Because he's very like, he knows what he wants. And he's like,
Mhm.
at this very moment, I'm not willing to give this up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he's like, so I'm not even going to try to get us pregnant.
Right.
And I'm
Right.
like, and you better not, honey,
You better
because
not.
I'm not ready.
I would say, like you said, and you made a statement about resenting your kid.
Yes.
And that is true because I do see a lot of moms who have kids, or sometimes they resent having kids like so fast, like one
Yes.
after another.
Yes, yes, yes.
That they're like, I didn't enjoy life at all. Like, and I'm just like, I think that you need to just detox, just let it all out, live your
Mm-hmm.
life, and then settle down. And maybe that's right now, Sergio's probably not looking at it like that. But trust me, once it gets serious, parenting actually, if you're actually living with this person and it's you're making it work, and he wants kids and he wants to be an active dad, then I feel like, ya que tienen el bebé
Yeah,
ahí,
like
it's
he's
completely
gonna
different.
wanna be present and
Yeah,
stuff.
it's completely different. Which I don't know how Sergio's thinking about parenting. What is his parenting?
His parenting is just being like super strict, and but I feel like at the same time, I feel like he would be a good dad just because he grew up with the not so good dad. But I didn't tell y'all that.
He can make it or break it from his trauma. So
Yes,
he's making it from
exactly,
his trauma.
exactly. And so I think he's gonna be a really good dad.
Really
I
good,
just
yeah.
like for me, maybe now I'm just like I want to be a cool mom,
I'm a cool
I'm a cool
mom.
mom.
Couple like on Mondays we wear pink or what?
Yeah,
No,
on
Wednesdays we
Wednesdays.
wear pink.
But no, like I think me and him. I think just because I'm really still young right now,
Mhm.
so my frontal lobe hasn't finished developing. Uh, it's like 3 years ago. So my frontal lobe hasn't finished developing. So a lot of my thought process like is that my kids are allowed to have fun, they're allowed to go places.
Mhm.
But he was just telling me the other day, he was just like, yeah, I want to be that parent that if my kid wants to go swimming, I'm not gonna tell them like métete a bañar
Uh-huh.
if you want to get wet because that's how you're gonna do.
Yeah.
He's like, I would actually like take him to the
Take him
swimming
swimming.
pool,
Okay.
so I'm just
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
there's like comments that he makes now and there that
Uh-huh.
he's just like, I'm just like, okay, you
This
would be a
this
good
my baby
dad. Yeah,
daddy.
because then like I would also hate when my parents, like when I would ask them to go out with my friends, they're gonna be like, pues dile que te vengan a recoger.
Right.
And my mom, like my parents live in the middle of nowhere.
Really?
So like to ask my friend to go pick me up all the way over there, and then I would just be like, I'll just stay home.
I would just stay home.
It's okay.
That's the thing though with parenting. I think a lot of the things about I don't that's where Chris and I would kind of also butt heads in
Mm-hmm.
because he'd be like, "Oh no, I'm not gonna let her do this and that." Keep in mind we have a daughter, so
Oh, Chris, you're gonna eat your words, honey.
So I told him this. Remember how strict my dad was,
Yeah.
and we still found ways around it. I'm like I think I prefer. Obviously, I'm not gonna let my daughter wild out,
Yes.
Pero pues
Right,
también
please.
I feel like
Yeah.
I prefer knowing where she's at, what she's doing, than thinking she's at the movies and she's drunk, passed out in some ditch, So
Because they're gonna
that's
do it
the thing.
regardless.
They're gonna do it regardless.
They're gonna find a way
find
to do
a
it
way.
regardless whether you say
And
yes
that's what I
or
tell
no.
Chris. I'm like, we've been there, done that. So don't even act like it's not happening. So that is like, I don't know. Sergio will change it.
He will change, and I have we have trust in him.
And you'll change it too. You'll change your way. Once you come, you'll be like, I don't know about that. Like, I don't know if I want my daughter to do this or that, or whatever you have. It could be your son, and you'll be like, he's not doing this or that. But I see Sergio as a good dad.
Yeah, he will be. I think he has a lot of he will be good. He will be a good dad. But to wrap up this episode, because if not, I'm going to stay here for an hour and a half and never finish. Just know you're not alone, girls. Like, we got you. There's a lot of you're not the only one. There's a lot of resources you can reach out to, and I'm sure there's groups that you can reach out to. You can obviously add Mayra on Facebook.
Maybe Instagram, because on social media, on Facebook, I talk too much crap. But
Okay,
send me a
Instagram.
message anywhere you want. Just send me a
And
message.
also, she is an accountant,
And
so
I
if
will.
you're planning to do your taxes next year, hit her up.
We can do a 2-for-1. I'll do your taxes while you vent to me. It's
Yeah.
okay, dude. You know what? We need to do a podcast on office stories because you got crazy ones there.
Yeah.
But yes, we are more than open. Jenny's open. Just
Yeah.
let us know you're not alone. Don't let a man tell you less, or anyone. Don't let your
No.
suegra, your cuñado, your whoever tell you
Nobody.
you're
Literally
not
nobody.
less. You do as you want to do and do whatever the hell you want to do with your body.
Yes.
So that's it.
All right. Well, goodbye, guys.
Bye.